From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay, the latest on the ceasefire and the trade war between the U.S. and China. When will U.S. soybeans start heading overseas? How technology on the farm is fighting crime.
He said, well, you might want to go look at your tractor because it's showing it's moved.
And we check out other farm tech that's taking farming to a whole new level. We're at Farm Journal's AgTech Expo for a special edition of AgDay.
Coverage of the Farm Journal AgTech Expo is brought to you by the United Soybean Board. Advice, information, ideas, and more. If it's Ag Tech, it's in the Tech Tool Shed, your unbiased one-stop source for everything Ag Tech.
Hello and welcome to this special edition of AgDay from Farm Journal's AgTech Expo in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm Clinton Griffiths. Well, this is the second year for this event, and as we all know, the pace of innovation in agriculture is only quickening. Farmers and businesses from across the Midwest on hand learning about what's next in farm tech. The expo proving that technology doesn't just live on consumer shelves. Agriculture continues to lead the way in many ways, from gene editing technology to automation, climate mitigation, robotics, and now artificial intelligence, helping to make decisions on the farm built on that mountain of data.
Even more exciting is the potential for AI to help us look into the future, to both plan around both the weather conditions as well as the resource availability, and actually anticipate and make decisions about the resources and type of crops that people are going to grow into the future.
Microsoft joining the effort, bringing its computing know-how to pair with companies trying to use data to provide insights for farmers. Well, while I'm here learning about the latest in technology, Tyne Morgan's back in the AgDay studio. She joins us now with today's headlines. Tyne.
Thanks, Clinton. Well, the focus right now continues to be on the ceasefire in the trade war between the U.S. and China and when U.S. ag products will start moving to China. U.S. stocks sliding big time on Tuesday, partially due to investors growing skeptical on any meaningful breakthroughs of a deal between the two countries. USDA Secretary Sonny Perdue sounding more optimistic, saying China could start buying soybeans around January 1st. China has mainly been buying soybeans from South America, specifically Brazil. U.S. soybean exports to China are down about 45% this year. While speaking in Chicago on Monday, Perdue said he doesn't think there's enough soybean supply in South America to tide the Chinese over until there's a new crop there. He also believes U.S. rice, poultry, beef, grain, sorghum, and wheat could all see buys from China. He says he has been talking with U.S. negotiators and says the issues surrounding Chinese tariffs are going to be fleshed out in the next few days. Bill Biederman of Allendale telling AgDay he thinks China will come to the market to buy despite tariffs.
It is going to take some time, but this is a really big deal. And if I was China, as far as I'm concerned, I would be telling all my buyers, go out and get it bought now, and then after you have it bought, I'll announce that we're going to reduce the tariffs on U.S. beans. Everybody's going to make money if we do it that way. So I don't agree with all these people saying that, to be bearish and it's not going to happen.
President Trump taking to Twitter again to talk about this, saying, quote, the negotiations with China have already started, end quote. He went on to say, quote, China is supposed to start buying agricultural product and more immediately. President Xi and I want this deal to happen, and it probably will. But if not, remember, I am a tariff man. When people or countries come in to raid the great wealth of our nation, I want them to pay for the privilege of doing so. It will always be the best way to max out our economic power. We are right now taking in billions in tariffs, end quote. And what about the Farm Bill? Our Washington reporter Jim Wiesmeyer says expect the official release of the Farm Bill next week. He says it's due to services for former President George H.W. Bush. It still isn't known when the House and Senate will vote on it. Wiesmeyer also says under the bill, most farm program crops will see a boost in loan rates, but not upland cotton, peanuts, and minor oil seeds. He says soybean growers will likely see an almost 25% increase in loan rates starting with next year's crop. And the lack of a farm bill in place weighing heavy on the minds of those surveyed for the new Purdue CME Group Ag Barometer. The barometer's November reading is 134. That's down just over 1% from last month. The current number is 6% below its most recent peak in June. That's before the trade wars started to really kick in. Researchers say farmers are becoming more optimistic that current trade conditions won't hurt exports in the long run. But 75% of them were concerned about the lack of a new farm bill at the time they were asked. Also interesting, farmers are expected to plant fewer soybeans in the new year.
Farmers that planted soybeans in 2018, a month ago, 19% of them said that they were going to reduce their soybean acreage in 2019. This month, 30% of them said that they plan to reduce their soybean acreage. And then when we did the follow-up question and asked of those people that plan to reduce soybean acreage, by how much do they plan to reduce their soybean acreage? 69% of them said that they plan to reduce their soybean acreage by more than 10%.
Mintert says those planting fewer soybeans plan to plant corn in those acres instead.
The weather's pretty nice here in Indianapolis, but let's see what's happening around farm country. For that, we turn it over to Cindy Clausen for today's crop comments.
Thanks, Clinton. Well, you know, we love it when we get in pictures from all over the world. Check out this one shared with us by Dave Nicholas. He lives in Tarporley, Cheshire, England. He says that this was the view from his job earlier this week. Just a beautiful look at the sun peeking through the clouds. Taking a look at our wind forecast as we head through the day today, we are going to be seeing some of the heavier winds again up in the plains and into the northern high plains. And into this afternoon, you'll start to see some winds picking up a little bit, especially in the southern plains. Overnight, those winds kind of translate eastward into the Great Lakes. You can see that picking up in the central plains. There'll be a front that's coming through there. And as we get into your Thursday forecast, especially the central and eastern parts of the Great Lakes, we'll be seeing some windy conditions. We're going to talk about the jet stream coming up in just a few minutes with your national forecast, but here first are your hometown temps.
Keeping track of the shifting market prices has never been so easy. Get the latest commodity prices sent directly to your cell phone with market updates. Just text Markets 8 to 31313 to get started.
When we come back, I'll be on the AgTech stage talking with 3 key innovators in agriculture technology, and we'll be talking about how that may change the future of the farm. Plus, we're off to Texas, where technology helped save one farmer's tractor from theft and damage.
You could win a Ford F-150 Raptor in the Ag Explore Truck Sweepstakes. Enter at trucksweeps.com. Coverage of the Farm Journal AgTech Expo is brought to you by the United Soybean Board. Advice, information, ideas, and more. If it's ag tech, it's in the Tech Tool Shed, your unbiased one-stop source for everything ag tech.
Welcome back to this special edition of Ag Day from Farm Journal's AgTech Expo. I have Steve, Tim, and Pete here today, and all right, I want to talk about the velocity and change in ag technology. It seems like things are just flying in front of us. How do we sort through the noise? And Steve, I'll start with you. What should we be watching for and looking for as far as innovation in agriculture?
Well, I think the thing really farmers need to take a deep breath and really take a look at the technology that's out there as far as what's going to really pay back on their farms, you know, for 2019, because there's really a laser focus, I think, of the growers of what's going to make them money for 2019, because it's really tight margins out there.
That's right.
And you know, tech can really help that, but what's going to help immediately?
All right, Tim, what's your opinion of that?
Well, I totally agree. One of the things that we think, or kind of our motto, is precision with a purpose. And we want every technology that you implement on your farm to actually be able to solve some type of role or something that you're having trouble with. So
yeah, and Pete?
Well, we just think it's a scary and yet extremely exciting time, and good growers that are already used to thinking about all the things you have to think about on a regular basis are able to synthesize how do you take the genetics, how do you take the data, how do you take these pieces and optimize efficiencies, but also how do you do that in a way that you're looking towards new market opportunities and sort of the transitions that are coming. And so, well, we think it's an exciting time, a little scary. We think events like this are a great way to bring together looking at technology and innovation and be able to pick out things that might work for 2019, but also bridge to the future.
Steve, as we start to look at some of the big innovations coming, if you had a crystal ball and wanted to pick out one thing that you think is going to be a game changer, what's on your target list?
I think one of the things is artificial intelligence obviously is going to be a big thing, but you have to have the data to back that up. So I think that's going to be the big question. Do we have the data? Do we have good enough data to make artificial intelligence do what it needs to do?
Yeah. Tim, what about you?
I think it's hand in hand. I really think autonomy will be one of the big things in the future, and I think it's going to take good data with artificial intelligence being able to figure out what to do with that machine as you're in the field.
Yeah. And what about you, Pete?
I'll add on to that, going the change in storage in the way we think about supply chains. If you look out 10 years, there's going to be 20 crops where right now there was 5. And so this being a bridge to that. And so how you think about the supply chain from your storage on farm and customer development, adding on to the data and the other pieces.
So many things to watch, so many to look through. We're going to have you guys back in just a few minutes later in the show and continue the conversation from Farm Journal's AgTech Expo. Stick with us.
Winter weather once again filtering across the U.S. Cindy, November was cold. Do we expect the same pattern coming into December?
Well, Clinton, yeah, we definitely are. It has been very chilly across especially the north central United States. We've been seeing trough after trough affecting the east. Well, we do have at least some minor changes coming up this week. Let's put the jet stream into motion. You see that trough in the east, another one kind of coming through the Great Lakes. But as we get towards the weekend and early next week, we do see a ridge kind of coming through. But notice the cooler temperatures at least lasting for a lot of the eastern part of the country. But it shouldn't be quite as cold. So that is at least some good news. And you might even get a little bit of a warm up here in even the north central United States. But I think it's going to be brief. Long term looks cold. Big changes in the root zone moisture. Now this was a couple of weeks ago, and look how dry it was in the west. It was dry in the nation's midsection. This is the latest root zone moisture. Boy, has it been wet. Wow. Big rains in much of the nation's midsection. Obviously, California has been affected as well with all of the rains there, and very wet out in much of the eastern United States. A lot of the area, though, is going to be dry across the U.S. We're going to have some patches with some snow in the east into the plain states, and some more rain and upper elevation snow in parts of California and into the southwest. Heading through the day, though, a lot of the south central United States should be on the dry side with high pressure. Got another high pressure coming into the high plains there as well. But we have a cold front moving through the nation's midsection, so that's going to bring some snow to the Great Lakes area and perhaps a little bit further down that cold front as well. Heading through the day on Thursday, that low translates to the east, so that'll bring snow to the northeastern United States and some rain and snow into the Four Corners region as well. Now, as far as the rain, it hasn't been a whole lot over the past 24 hours. In the next 24 hours, we're going to watch right around that frontal boundary and that low pressure system in the northeastern United States. And as far as snowfall, it kind of the same thing as we're going to be seeing that snowfall, especially into the eastern part of the United States. As far as temperatures, as we head through the day, still chilly for a lot of the country, a lot of 20s and 30s for highs across much of the northern half of the country. That's your national forecast. Now let's check on some local cities. Starbuck, Washington, mostly cloudy, some fog and perhaps some freezing fog early with a high of 34 degrees. Lucky, Louisiana, a frosty start, but plenty of sunshine with a high of 55. In Richland, South Carolina, sunshine for you.
All right, thanks. Now when we come back, part 2 of our Innovation Roundtable from AgTech Expo. And later, think you're just going to jump in and steal this tractor? Well, think again. How technology is doing more than putting seed in the ground.
Join Andrew McRae for Farming the Countryside, a farmer-focused podcast that is all about production agriculture. Farming the Countryside is available wherever you listen to your favorite podcast and is brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, the world's largest provider of crop inputs and services. Coverage of the Farm Journal AgTech Expo is brought to you by the United Soybean Board. Advice, information, ideas, and more. If it's ag tech, it's in the Tech Tool Shed, your unbiased one-stop source for everything ag tech.
Welcome back to Farm Journal's AgTech Expo. I'm Clinton Griffiths, again joined with a panel to discuss what's happening in ag technology. Pete, let's start with you. If you look at disruptors, what's the number one disruptor that I think farmers need to be watching for on the farm?
Well, you know, when you ask me that question, I'm going to avoid it a little bit by going, there won't be a silver bullet. We talked about that early, genetics or other things. You think about the environment we're in right now, when it's on the cover of Wall Street Journal that Bunge, ADM, Cargill are struggling with their business model because they don't have the leverage of storage anymore, you're actually in a pretty interesting position on the farm side. So it's a holistic approach. You're going to think about genetics that come in. You're going to think about the data, all these pieces. And I've agreed with what the gentleman will say also and said in an earlier segment about AI and some of the pieces, but how those fit together is where the magic's going to happen.
Tim, what do you think? Disruptors you're watching?
Well, again, I think the AI, the Tyrannus product is a really neat product that goes out there and it can take a picture of the field and then you can actually see where there's different weeds, where there's different insects, and then that artificial intelligence will actually show you where the insects are. It'll label them. You can zoom in and see kind of what the infestation looks like, and I think that really can take our scouting to a whole next level, and then we can couple that with application.
Yeah. Steve, what about you? What are you watching as far as things that could change the game for us?
I'm really watching for a company that can really bring the Internet of Things together. I think that the one thing that is, it's very disjointed out there. You know, to adopt a sliver of technology on your farm, looking for that silver bullet, you may get disappointed, but whoever can bring that together as a whole is going to be a game changer in the market.
Yeah, go ahead. You're going to follow up?
We're just going to say we've been really interested in companies that up till now we sort of viewed it take the field level and move up to the task, and so you're inundated on the farm level with all this data, very granular, not able to act, develop actions around that. We've been looking at technologies that are first mapping the actions of your farm and then going down and figuring out how do you institutionalize those actions with better results on the field level. So flipping the whole thing the other way. And so things like that are able to cleverly look at your field operations now, how to bring data in effectively without overkill, and then implement on that.
Tim, data seems to be a buzzword we've been talking about for a decade now, but are we getting better to solving our data issues and doing something with that?
Yeah, again, I think if you take the data and you can start to pull it together, like a lot of the companies are doing out there, we're going to learn a lot more about the whole system of agriculture, especially if everyone records every action that they do on the farm. Because if you have missing pieces, you only see part of the picture when you're looking at a puzzle. And if you have all the pieces, or at least more pieces, the picture is much clearer.
All right, thank you all for joining us on a special edition of Ag Day. We'll be back with more in just a couple minutes.
In the Country, sponsored by Kubota. See the hardest working tractors in ag at Kubota.com or visit your local Kubota dealer today.
Welcome back. You know, technology isn't cheap, and these big machines are a major investment. Tyne Morgan joins us once again with a story from Texas about how technology is helping to fight crime.
I've been farming since I was 24 years old, so this was my 6th crop.
Winston Aldridge was born and raised in the tiny town of Nome, Texas.
Summer of 2017.
I started getting alerts on his machine, middle of the night one night.
Travis Norris lives and works about 20 miles from Aldridge.
I'm getting red alerts on my cell phone. They get sent to my email. Getting red alerts at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, wondering what's going on. Finally, I see that this unit's going in a D-rate, trying to turn itself off to save the transmission from any catastrophic damage.
Struggling to make the decision whether to contact Aldridge in the middle of the night, he finally made the call.
3 o'clock or 4 o'clock that morning, I got a call from a guy up at Shoppa's. I didn't have his phone number saved in my phone, so 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm not answering a out-of-area phone call. A little bit later, got a text, hey, this is Travis up here at Shoppa's. You need to give me a call as soon as you can.
And finally did get an answer. Customer's wondering why I'm calling. Inform him something's going on with his tractor, and he tells me that nobody's supposed to be running it.
And he said, well, you might want to go look at your tractor because it's showing it's moved. So.
And you hadn't stepped foot in that tractor?
Not since the day before. He told me exactly what was wrong with it before I even went down there, that it was left in gear, operator out of the seat, and it was throwing a hydraulic oil code.
So he was not only able to tell you what was wrong, but also where your tractor was?
Yep. He asked me if I knew where it was, because he knew it moved, and he told me actually where he thought it was.
He was able to get to it first thing that morning, find out he needed some hydraulic oil, had a damaged hydraulic hose. He came into the store, got what he needed, was able to get back to work as soon as he could the next day.
A problem that ended up being a simple fix, but something that could have turned into a catastrophic disaster.
If something would have happened to that, or it would have gone down, or got stolen, I mean, I would have, I'd been out of operation. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to get a crop in.
Exactly what happened to the tractor that summer day of 2017 remains a mystery.
Somebody in the middle of the night must have got into it, I don't know if they were having problems operating it or what, but they left it in gear, turned the key off, and got out.
And while Aldridge isn't searching for an answer, he takes comfort in knowing his tractor is in good hands, helping him navigate the challenges of farming along the way.
All right, thanks, Tyne, and thank all of you for joining me as we take Ag Day on the road. I'll be back in studio tomorrow. From all of us here at Ag Day, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day in farm country.